Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey is the quintessential modern movie. Anyone who doesn't see it is either blind or they're in extreme denial. What's rockin' my rock and roll? Today's video is going to be kind of a continuation of my last video. So my last video was basically my Odyssey review slash first impressions, because I just got home when I made that video, but I've had a few days to think about it, and I wanted to expand on a few things and also talk about some things I left out because my mind was all over the place. So this time I actually wrote some notes down. Funny how that helps, but hey, you know, that first impression, video's doing good, so hey, it doesn't matter. So let's just get into it. So what I'll start with is basically saying at the end of my previous video talking about, you know, like, I think the title's like It's Pure Modern Trash or something like that, which I did kind of rage bait people, you know, which is kind of funny, but hey, like I said, the video's doing good, so it worked. At the end of that video, I gave it a rating of 5 out of 10, and after thinking about it, I'm going to stick with that rating. There is still some good here, mainly, you know, the technical aspects, some of the scenes I personally thought, you know, were cool, but overall, the main message, which I'll explain later in the end of this video, but is that I think Christopher Nolan was the wrong choice for this subject matter. I think all the reviews are saying something of that effect, but let's get into it. So, where do I start? I guess let's just go down the list of my complaints, really, or just notes. So, the editing. One of my biggest complaints with The Odyssey was you could feel a lot was cut out. I don't know. It could just be how Nolan makes movies. That very well could be. He has a very non-linear style to his storytelling, which, hey, that's worked for him. Like, awesome. But I think for this one, it was a little confusing. Like, you'd have a scene, characters talking, they talk about a scene, and then it cuts back, you know, back in time in the story to that scene. That was a little confusing. You got a little bit better as the movie got on because you got used to it, but the first couple times you're like, oh, okay, wait, what's going on? Oh, okay. So that was kind of annoying. The overall just story, it felt like crammed. Like, the movie's, 2 hours and 55 minutes, 52 minutes, something like that. Well, like, it needed to be longer. Now, granted, that's not really Nolan's fault because IMAX projectors can only run, I think, up to 3 hours, so I'll give him some benefit of the doubt. But, like, if that was the case, obviously he knew that going in, it should have been 2 parts. Like, you could have did part 1, part 2, or hell, you could have even done, like, a trilogy. 3 movies, maybe 2 hours each, you know, flesh out the story. That, I think, could have been super cool. Some people saying, like, it could have been, like, a prestigious, like, a streaming show, which, yeah, that would also work. Maybe like an HBO series. I think it would be perfect for HBO, but if he wanted seeing it on IMAX with, like, the big screen, or just at the biggest screen you can in your area, I think adds to the experience. So I would say either 2 parts or a trilogy would have been better, because you could just tell there was a lot on the cutting room floor. It was very fast. This happens and this happens and this happens. So I wish we got a few more. Like, I mean, let's be honest. Like, it's the Odyssey. It's, you know, the name says itself. It's the Odyssey, a grand scale, long period of time, and this just felt like a couple weeks. Like, yeah, just of how fast it moves. So, yeah, I wish we just got more in terms of that. Let's see, the editing. I already talked about that. The sound mixing. I already talked about this in my previous video, but I'll kind of reiterate. The sound mixing, it was fine in some scenes. A lot of people are, like, harping on it, saying, oh, it's all bad. No, there were some scenes where I could understand everything just fine, but there were other scenes where, I guess I should have said it. I should have said full spoilers. This is just going to be open discussion. I should have said that at the beginning, but here we go. I guess we can say it now. There are some scenes, though, where, like, 2 actors are talking. 2 actors are talking, and then the scene transitions, and it's just this blaring sound. Like, oh my god, like, you know, maybe it's just the IMAX theater I was in, but it was loud. It was like going from a quiet scene to like a loud scene. It's like, okay, like you could have, ramped it up a little bit, not just, straight cut and then boom, loudness. So there's that. There were a few scenes where actors were talking, mainly on like the I don't even want to say, like the ocean scenes, like where they're on the boat, the waves are splashing, the boat's rocking. Some of those scenes were kind of hard to hear. There's a scene I talked about in my previous video with Charlize Theron on the beach where she's talking about something, and what do I want to say? Why am I blanking? It's early in the morning. Oh, the soundtrack behind her is ramping up, and you can't really hear her. It's like, oh, what's she saying? Can you like either turn the soundtrack up and turn her up? Like, okay. Other than that, though, for sound, I don't think I can think of anything else that bothered me sound-wise. No, that's all I can think of as sound mixing. I guess the score. Let's talk about the score. The score, like I said in my previous video, I actually kind of liked it. It was a lot better than what I was expecting, especially at the end when like Odysseus comes back and he kills the suitors, the drums banging. I thought that was really like tense and like, yeah, like it kind of got me in the mood of it. But the composer, it's the same composer who did like Oppenheimer, which Oppenheimer had a great score, so I don't know why he couldn't do a great score here. Now, granted, Nolan said like he wanted no orchestral because like orchestral didn't exist back then, but they did black people and Indian people in Greece. But hey, we'll talk about it. No, that's coming. We'll talk about that coming down the line. So I don't know why they couldn't just add just a little bit of orchestral score, a little bit of Hans Zimmer-ish, ism. Like, I don't know why he couldn't have done that, but whatever. There's that. The monster scenes. So let's talk about, I guess, the fantastical scenes. This also ties into a point I'll make at the end about how Nolan, being like a very technical, grounded director, wouldn't work or doesn't work for something like the Odyssey. It doesn't. You can feel it watching this movie. All the monster scenes or the fantastical scenes are kind of like, you can feel they're rushed. Like they're like he's flashing you. Like, oh, here, monster scenes. Oh, back to the real story. Like, I don't know. I can't really describe it really, but like they just feel kind of out of place. And so if you know the story of the Odyssey, he ends up on the beach in this version. He ends up on the beach with Calypso. She feeds him the lotus flower, and he kind of like doesn't remember anything. So the movie kind of implies that like he's eating the lotus flower. Well, let's just say this. So Nolan has kind of confirmed that this movie, it's Odysseus dealing with PTSD. Okay, so with that framework, him eating the lotus flowers, you can argue that all the monster scenes are in his head. Like, I don't really know if they were real, in fact, or if they were just in his head, and that's how he's dealing with the trauma of not being able to go back home. If that makes sense. I think I'm making sense. I hope I am anyway. It just feels like, so the first big, like, fantastical scene is a Cyclops. So, like I said, the Cyclops scene, I liked it for the most part. It did feel choppy, like I said in my previous video. Like, it's supposed to be, like, they're supposed to be there for days, but it felt like a night. The Cyclops itself, it looked cool. Like, it was a mix of, like, I'll throw up on screen here, like an actual, like, 60-foot puppet and, like, an actor, like, dressed up in makeup. So, that was cool. They do confirm that the Cyclops is in fact the son of Poseidon. So after they run away, like, there's a crew member that says, oh, he's the son of Poseidon. Odysseus goes something like, oh, I can't be. And so there's that. The Cyclops scene, for the most part, I thought was good. It could have been better. The next, I guess, fantastical scene, would that be Circe? Or was it the Giants? I think it might have been the Giants. I think it was the Giants. So the Giants is funny because overall I did like the scene, but it is kind of funny. So they appear on the island. They see the child, but he's big because the Giants. The child runs, and they just come out like in this picture here. They come out and like sword swinging, just like it's like they were waiting. Like, what are they doing? They're just waiting for someone to show up so they can just kick some ass. Like, is that just what they do all day? Just wait for people to come up and because they're supposed to be like primitive cannibals in the original story. So this one they were just like camping, waiting for people to show up. So that was kind of weird. Overall, I did like the scene. So that one. I had the least amount of problems with, and the next one was the Cersei scene, which, like I said in the last video, the Cersei scene, the practical effects, like she turns them into pigs, I thought was awesome. I was like, yes, this is cool, I like it. Then the ending, when like Odysseus, shows up to her cabin, and he sees all the pigs, he doesn't know where his crew is. She goes on this whole lecture. When he eventually finds out what she is, don't know which, she goes on this whole lecture about, you men, like, you're just pigs. That's why I turned your men into pigs. That's their true form. All you men, all this, destruction, everything. It's all men bad, which I think that's the first scene, and it later gets kind of rammed home at the end, where that scene, it is the Emily Wilson translation. I don't think they're trying to hide it. Like, it is 100% that translation. I know he said, I've looked at, I know Nolan said he looked at, different translations. No, that's the main one he pulled from, You Can Tell. So there's that. I think, so the Cersei scene, the actual, transformation scene, I think was the best one. That, then the giant armor, then the Cyclops, and then, the sirens, I would rank at the bottom, because I don't know if you can call them sirens. They tie him up to the mast, and they put the wax in his ears and everything, and you don't really see the sirens. You see, silhouettes of, human females, but that's it. You don't see up close. They're not mermaids or, bird people. So that was kind of disappointing. The biggest disappointment one, for me personally, the worst monster scene was Scylla. So it's Charybdis, I think that's how you say it, which is the whirlpool, and then Scylla, who's the Hydra snake monster. So Charybdis was cool. I think I read last night or sometime yesterday where they had people on jet skis basically go in a circle, and they just edited out the jet skis, which makes sense how they did it. So the actual whirlpool I thought looked pretty cool. It was only on screen for a minute, but Scylla. Oh my god. So Scylla's been depicted differently. So some say she's a Hydra, 8-head snake with snake heads. Other ones that they're a human female with 8 tentacles, and they're dog heads. There's that. Either of those would be better than what we got. What we got, I can't even describe it. It looked she's supposed to be a reptilian Hydra, multi-headed thing, and it did have multiple limbs, but it looked like a bland rock monster. It looked like something from a Marvel movie. I'm not even joking. It was so bland, and you can tell the CGI was off. You can tell it was off a little bit. It's okay, Nolan, stick to practical. This is not your wheelhouse. So they escape. So basically, the thing is Odysseus can either go into the whirlpool and all his men die, or he can go to the what is it called? The cliff cavern, I guess you call it, and only 6 of your men will die. So he chooses to go to, reluctantly chooses to go down the cavern path, and I think a lot more than 6 died from what I was counting. It looked like a lot more than 6. I could be wrong, but. And then Scylla just starts up and just starts grabbing them from the cliffs. You see a shot in one of the trailers where, one of her hands, breaches the sail, cuts through the sail, I guess, to grab somebody and pull them back. And then the camera pans up, and it's just, these tentacles going back inside, a rock hole, kind of something like this. And that's it. There's no snake heads. There's no dog heads. It's just a rock creature. And so that was... Out of all the monster scenes, that was the most disappointing. I was so pissed off and sad because I was really looking forward to it. It's a Hydra monster, a dragon type creature. How cool is that? But I just watched in the days leading up to it, I watched Jason the Argonauts and that cool Hydra monster, and we didn't get anything like that. We just got your generic, bland Hollywood 2026 monster, just gray monster, and that was disappointing. Let's go look at this list. So the monster scenes are clarified. Oh, I guess, speaking of fantastical, that leads in the next point, and that is the gods. Or lack thereof, because you can make the argument that there are no gods at all that exist in this world. They're all in the characters' heads. So, And this also goes into the problem of Nolan's the wrong choice, because clearly I don't think he wanted to tackle the fantastical elements. I wouldn't be surprised if he, like, I guess, hired it out and had somebody else, like his second unit, do those scenes. Because, all right, let's start with Zeus, for instance. So Zeus, so every time you don't see him, there's nothing implied he is real. So basically, they talk about Zeus's law. So basically, like the balance, treat people how you want to be treated. Like, it's the balance of things, basically. And every time someone breaks that balance, they say you're defying Zeus's law. And anytime they say Zeus's name, it's like lightning strikes off in the distance and thunder. Like, it's kind of like boom, like he's mad. But you don't actually see him. So there's that. Poseidon is mentioned because of the Cyclops, which kind of throws off. So it's like, okay, so if the gods aren't real, then how did the Cyclops get there? Because he's supposed to be the son of Poseidon, like that one character suggested. But like, you could argue, like, because Odysseus is eating the lotus flowers, it's warping his memory. So maybe the Cyclops, it may not even be real, like I mentioned earlier. But if he is real, how is he the son of Poseidon? Is he just a mutant creature and they think he's the son of Poseidon? Like, this is the problem with, like, with how Nolan chose to tell this story. So there's Zeus, Poseidon, and I think the other god they mentioned is Athena, which we'll get into right now with Zendaya. This is the part I kind of wish I would have left in the other video, but, whatever. So Athena, Zendaya is not really playing Athena, really. So what we come to find out at the end was that Athena is not really real, and that Zendaya in the movie was actually, I think she was like, kind of, what's the word I can't think of it. They presume, I guess, that she was some, like, priestess to Athena that worshipped her, or maybe she was just some random girl in Troy. So during the Battle of Troy, it cuts back, so I guess we'll kind of mention Troy. So Troy, like, you see it incrementally throughout the film, the Battle of Troy and the Fall of Troy. And at the end, when Odysseus is telling, his whole, like, why he's going back and everything, you see a majority of it. And Odysseus is looking around the battlefield. He sees all, like, the carnage happening. And some of his men, like, they bring this girl down, which is Zendaya, and they slice her head off. At the same time, it cuts to, like, a soldier. You see in the trailer, like, slicing the head off that statue. And because of that, Odysseus kind of takes that woman and puts her in the place of Athena. So he's actually not talking to Athena. He's talking to this woman, Zendaya, that was killed in the Battle of Troy, and he's just projecting that woman onto Athena. If that makes sense. I think I'm explaining that correctly. So by that logic, like, yeah, Athena's not even real. It's just a random girl that Odysseus didn't even know. He just saw get killed and was like, oh, I guess that's how he's processing his trauma. I guess, right? Like, that's what the movie's like. The movie's not really 100% clear, but I think that's what it's implying. Okay, I guess that this perfectly leads into the feminist Emily Wilson translation, and that is all men bad. That's what you can boil it down to. All the problems in the world are men. So at the end, when we have this revelation about Zendaya as Athena, air quotes, is Odysseus is telling Penelope, but she doesn't know he's Odysseus because he's dressed like a beggar. He's coming in. He wants to speak to the queen. He gets the permission. I'm leaving some stuff out, but you get the gist. And he's basically telling, and this is the main point I talked about in my last video, was like, oh, like, we did a lot of, like, we won the war, we won Troy, we took Troy, but, like, we had to do a lot of bad things, and I'm traumatized. He basically trauma dumps. Like, I'm traumatized with what we had to do. Yes, we won, but, like, at what cost? We did some bad things, and I'm sad, and now I'm home, and I'm still sad. Like, it leads into, like I said, the feminist translation that Emily Wilson did with just all men bad. All this problem is men this, men bad, blah, blah, blah. We're sick of it. And people are sick of it, but it seems like in the reviews, like the reactions, like they're giving Nolan a pass. Like, no, don't give him a pass. Hold his feet to the fire. He's the one that enabled this. He is doing the thing a lot of you are complaining about. Why are you giving him a pass? Springboarding from that point onto the next one is perfect because through that modern, retelling of it, perfectly leads to the next point, and that is the biggest problem I had with this movie was the diversity. Anytime it appeared, it immediately took me out of the movie. I said it in my last video. The opening shot of this movie is Travis Scott, a black man who did not belong in ancient Greece. The second scene in this movie is Elliot Page. So you have a black and a transformer, the 1-2 punch right off the get-go. And it's like, isn't this supposed to be like a modern, like, European Greek history poem? What? Like, what? Like, and not to mention that freaking Indian who pops up, and then all the 7-Eleven manager, tech manager, tech support shows up. That one scene, they get to one of the islands. Someone asks, "What are you doing here?" And he goes, "We're Greeks from Ithaca. We just won the Battle of Troy." And I almost burst out laughing in theater. I'm kind of glad I didn't, because I'd be the only one doing it. Everyone would be looking at me, but I tried so hard not to. It was so damn funny. It's like, really? You're supposed to be a Greek? Not to mention, like, I saw some Latinos in Odysseus' crew. I saw blacks. There was an Asian there. It's like, what are all you people doing here? There is even one scene between Anne Hathaway and Tom Holland, so Penelope and Telemachus, so mom and son, and the scenes, it's a talking scene. They're very quiet. Like, Anne Hathaway is crying in some emotion, but for the most part, it is quiet. And then the scene transitions to the next shot, Travis Scott yelling. And again, it's part of that sound mix. And you're like, wait, it was just quiet. Now we got this black dude yelling. Like, what is going on? And the last 2 points, of a point and a half, I want to drive home at the end of this video. It's going kind of long, but I wanted to talk about, a more in-depth stuff I missed, a more in-depth video, which is what this video is. And that is, this is the quintessential modern movie. It checks all the boxes for a modern Hollywood 2026 movie. The DEI casting, diversity everywhere, the feminist messaging, the man-hating. All those ingredients are in this movie, and for some reason, I don't know if audiences are just, like, they're like just sheep and they're... Oops. They're just sheep and they're like blind because it's Nolan. Because a lot of people have been complaining about these things in the previous years, but for this one, they're just quiet. I don't know if they're just in shock, or I don't know, that's the wrong word, but it seems like they just don't want to go against Nolan because he's Nolan, which is just like the dumbest reason. He's doing all these things that everyone else is is hating against, but when he does it, it's fine. Like, he's reinforcing all of this, and judging by the box office trajectory, this is gonna make money, which, to be fair, it was never gonna flop. Everyone's saying it was gonna flop. No, they're flat out stupid. This was never gonna flop. Underperform, maybe. I would argue not anymore. Like, this is clearly, I would say, make a profit. And, oh my god, going down the line, this is gonna be bad, because if this does well, this is gonna reinforce this Hollywood message of, hey, all this diversity and, like, this butcherdizing of European history, like, they want that. More, and they're gonna go through every, like, European poem, every Greek poem, and they're gonna butcherdize it one by one, like they always do. As soon as one, like, genre movie or subject movie blows up, all these, like, not knockoff, but all these lesser movies follow. It's the trend that we've always seen, and I think this just was the shot. No, I don't want to say shot heard around the world, but, like, this was like, oh god, I don't want to say this. This was the main point. I know that's not what I wanted to say, but you guys get the point. Like, because of this was like the crack in the dam, the first domino. Oh, it's gonna be bad for what follows. And the last point I want to leave on is that Christopher Nolan was the wrong choice. He clearly, I've said it before in this video a lot, but I want to drive it home. He was the wrong choice to do this movie. From butcherizing the source material, which is another reason in modern Hollywood, to the way he does sound, the way he tells story, he doesn't like fantasy. He was the wrong choice. Now, who could have done a better Odyssey? I think that's a kind of interesting question. People brought up Robert Eggers, that's a good choice, who did, like, The Witch, Lighthouse, Northman, Nosferatu, The Upcoming Werewolf. He would do a great Odyssey. I think his would be, a little too weird for modern audiences, for normies, but he would have done a great job. Guillermo del Toro, I think, could have done a great one. Hell, James Cameron probably could have. Some people said Michael Bay as, like, a joke, which I mean, sure, why not? It can be better. It couldn't be worse than what we got. That Cyclops, yeah, blow that son of a bitch up. Blow them explosions everywhere. It certainly would have been more entertaining than what we got. But, yeah, a lot of people have said, there's actually a meme. Let me pull it up here. Here. I'll throw up on the screen here. So it's a picture of Nolan and then Mel Gibson. So Nolan, it says progressive director, makes a film set in ancient Greece, doesn't cast a single Greek. The cast is as diverse as downtown LA, which is a problem. And then it has Mel Gibson, a racist director, makes a film set in pre-colonial Mexico, only hires indigenous actors, has them all speak Mayan. Really? By this logic, like all these woke Hollywood types, Mel Gibson should be the one they're praising, but because he doesn't share the same politics, they immediately hate him. And Nolan, who does everything they're supposedly against, doesn't do it. It's just... And this also, I guess I'll mention this in this video too, why not? It's from the Wrap. So tweet, complaints about the Odyssey aren't about historical accuracy, they're about challenging outdated perceptions of what history should look like, and if audiences demand accuracy from fantasy films about monsters, they will never be satisfied. Go to hell. God, this ties into like the modernists. They are trying, make no mistake people, they are trying to erase history. They want so badly that whites are just gone from history. That's what they want. It's not about accuracy, it's about an agenda. It always has been, and it always will be. All this diversity, this butcherizing of history we've seen from this movie, and all the previous years we've been dealing with it, it's all an agenda. It's by design. They know what they're doing, and they do not care. And someone even brought up, there was a tweet under this, oh yeah, someone posted Gods of Egypt, and they said, yeah, when this came out, y'all acting like someone resurrected the painter from, Germany in 1930s. And yeah, it's so funny. I mean, I briefly remember when this movie came out, which Gods of Egypt, it's kind of fun. There are parts I like about it, but all in all, it's not a good movie, but it's all white people and people just lost their shit. Like, there's no diversity. It's all white people. Oh my God. And, oh, it's so funny. And yeah, but when they do it but when Hollywood does it to the Odyssey, oh, it's fine. It's, it's an interpretation. It's a modern retelling. We want it to look like downtown LA, except not everyone looks at downtown LA, nor should it be, because not everyone likes that or wants that. But hey, maybe I'm in the wrong, Anyway, guys, that is the ending for this kind of more in-depth review of the Odyssey, and all in all, I still keep the 5 out of 10 rating. There is some technical designs that I really appreciated. Some of the scenes, it's not all bad. There are some cool scenes. Cyclops scene I liked, has problems. The monster, the silver armor giants, I thought was cool. I know everyone hates it, but I thought it was kind of cool. The fight at the end when Odysseus comes back, I thought was fine. So yeah, 5 out of 5, but man, there are a lot of problems with this movie. And like I said in the beginning of this video, for people who don't see it, they're either dumb or blind, or they're just blatantly ignorant and don't want to accept it. But this is the quintessential modern movie, and because of this, we're gonna get a lot more of these, a lot more butcherizing of history, and it's just a bad path we're going down in terms of the arts and filmmaking. And that's where I'll end this video.